My mentor loved rocks. We're going to talk about it on today's podcast. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson. I'm a ballroom dance professional, a life coach, and a peak performance expert. I'm part of a group of motivated people who are dedicated to attaining emotional mastery and unlocking our full potential. We've realized life is a dance. The ups and downs can spin you out of your mind, but it's time to take back control. It's time to become a lifer. We don't believe others are responsible for how we feel. In fact, we don't believe anyone can make us feel anything. We are a new breed of overachievers. Emotional mastery is our journey, and unlocking our full potential is the key. Welcome to the journey. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life. What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button below and that little bell, the little bell right next to it. That's the notifications bell. If you don't click on that, YouTube won't let you know when we post a new video and when we put something up. So if you're loving the content, or if you haven't heard me yet, come on, just click on it. You're going to love this stuff. This is awesome stuff. I love being able to help all you lifers out there. And if you're not a lifer yet, you will soon be. Don't worry, it's coming. And so make sure you click on that like and subscribe button, and that way you can follow and know when all of our podcasts are coming up. In addition, make sure you share it with somebody. Go share it with somebody, because somebody out there needs these messages. So anyway, I appreciate you. And if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play, then come on over to YouTube and check us out and check out the channel. So anyway, you heard me on the intro, and I said my mentor loved rocks. What? She loved rocks. Okay, so I've had a few mentors in my life. Lucky for me, I've had a number of mentors that really influenced my world dramatically. And I've been so privileged to be trained by champions and master practitioners of NLP and some of the best in the game of life. I've been trained by just some really amazing people, and this mentor is second to none. She really changed my world and really set me on a new path when I was completely going a different direction. As some of you know, I'm a dancer, right? And I talk about that sometimes and periodically. And I went to college on a dance scholarship. Yeah, that exists, ballroom dance scholarship. And it was awesome. I loved it, and I got my school paid for. But when I was done with school, I was done. I mean, like, I was done. I was so fed up with the academic world. I am a very creative soul. If you talk to my team, they dread the words when I come in that day, on any given day, and go, I have an idea. And they like, oh no, Michael has another idea. And so I was very creative, and so the academic structure and sometimes the lack of logic that existed in the academic process, which is funny because you think logic would be really great, but sometimes they don't look at their own logic. Anyway, that's another topic altogether. But I was done. I graduated. I got my degree. And I was ready to go out and be a professional in the ballroom dance industry. And I swore to myself, and I remember it was a literal thought, not like one of those I made it up kind of things, but it was a literal thought that I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm never, and I said these exact words, I am never reading another book in my life, because I read and read and read, and oh my gosh, it was not what I considered fun. And of course, the things that I was reading about, that was not fun. So anyway, scratch that, move a couple, 2-3 years later, and I run into this mentor that came into my life, and I was teaching her, but she kind of ended up becoming my mentor, which is really funny how that works, right? I was teaching her dance, and I was lucky enough that she saw something more in me, and she kind of took me under her wing. I didn't know this at the time. Like at the time, looking back at it, I can see it in hindsight. But at the time, I maybe she didn't even know either. Maybe she didn't realize that she was kind of taking me on as a mentor. She was who I went to for advice, and she taught me about life. And the one thing that I look back at in hindsight, again, is beautiful. It's 2020, and since hey, we're in the year 2020, this is perfect, right? But hindsight is 2020, and sometimes you can look back and you go, oh, this was the moment. And we were talking one day and she says, oh, I have to run to class after this. So can we move our lesson a few minutes early? Otherwise I won't make it to class. And at the time, I think she was 56, maybe 60, something like that. 55, 56. I don't know. It's all a blur to me as it happens. Right. And quite simply, she could tell. I looked at her like, are you crazy? What? Class? And so, of course, I took the bait. I said, you're going to class? Class for what? She was a very successful woman in multiple things, right? And I said, well, what are you going to class for? She goes, oh, I just have like a couple more classes, 2 or 3 more classes to finish up my, I think it was a master's in geology, rocks. And I said, geology? You're going to class to study about rocks? She goes, well, yeah. And she looked at me like I was crazy, like I was the crazy one. And I said, why? She goes, I love rocks. And she goes into this epilogue about the formations and how rocks went together and how different mountain structures are formed and how they compressed. And because of certain compressions, it created other elements of rocks and blah, 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 blah. I mean, and I started to get this ridiculous education about rocks. Now I've forgotten a lot of it. So if you're a rock connoisseur, you probably know I just butchered that, right? But she went on and on about rocks. And for days and days after that, maybe weeks after that, we talked a lot about rocks. And she taught me some crazy things about geology. And now it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I live in Utah. So those of you that don't know that, I live in Utah. The scenery here is beautiful. The mountains in Utah are absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't been here, if you haven't come to see the mountains, first of all, if you're a skier, I can't imagine you haven't been to Utah. But if you haven't been to Utah, come see the mountains. I mean, honestly, it's worth the vacation just to be in the majesty of this universe and what it can create. But I mean, honestly, I cannot drive through the canyon without looking at the rocks and thinking about the things that my mentor taught me about rocks. And so now I find myself getting fascinated by rocks. Like sometimes I'll be hanging out or something in the mountains, and I'll reach down and pick up a rock and be like, oh my gosh, I wonder how this was formed. I wonder if this did that and how this came about and where this and what kind of pieces or elements are it. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Where the heck it came from her, obviously. But more importantly than that, she was in her late 50s and she was getting a master's degree, and that impressed itself upon me almost immediately. And I remember thinking over those next few weeks, right? Because time's a bit of a blur. And I remember thinking clearly to myself, she's in her late 50s and she's learning about rocks. That's stuff I thought only academics would want to learn or pay attention to. And honestly, how cool was that? How cool was that? She was learning about rocks, and she said she was one class away from getting another master's degree. And I said, wait, another? That I found out a couple weeks later. She had a master's in other things as well. And I continued to press and asked her, well, why are you doing that? And she goes, because I want to learn, because I want to grow. She goes, well, what are you interested in? And I remember her asking me that. What are you interested in? And I was so thrown aback because you know what? I was interested in dance. I had started dancing when I was 5. That's what I was interested in. I went to school for dance. And then she goes, surely you've had to have had other interests besides dance. And I thought about it, and yeah, actually that was the truth. I played basketball in high school, and really until unfortunate day, I believed I was going to be a professional basketball player. Okay, I'm 5'10". It was not reasonable. It was possible, but not reasonable. And so I had forgotten about that when I went to college, because I put all my eggs into the basket of becoming a professional dancer. That's what I was going to do, and that's all that mattered. That was all that was important. And I was tunnel vision like this. And she says, well, surely you've got to be interested in some other things. And I was like, well, I'm, what? And over the next little bit of time, she taught me about rocks and a whole lot of other things. And I think the biggest lesson out of that was she taught me how to be curious. She was curious about rocks. I would drive with her places, and there's not a ton of rock formations, I thought, in Utah, or in Jersey, where she lived. But I remember driving down the road with her once, and she goes, look at that. That is so cool. That was formed because of this and that and this, and it's probably this many years old, and it's blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, she's going off about all these things, and I didn't realize it. And little by little, as I hung out with her, she got me more and more curious, because she was curious, because she had set this ridiculous example. She never told me, Michael, you need to be curious. But she did say, surely you're curious about something. Okay, I don't know if she used those words. Let's get real. Time has messed it up in my head a little bit. But what I have recognized is that she did tell me and teach me through the best method possible, which is example. She said, hey, you know, what are you going to be curious about? And, you know, fast forward 20 some odd years, 25 years or something. And I find myself working on getting my children curious, working on getting my team curious. Not by telling them they have to be curious, but by asking the questions that maybe spark people's surprise. And I'll do it. And you know what? With the onset of Google, you can literally go, hey, Google, what is a rock formation? It picks it up.
According to Wikipedia, a rock formation is an isolated, scenic, or spectacular surface rock outcrop. Rock formations are usually the result of weathering and erosion sculpting the existing rock.
Now, this is ridiculous. There it is, right there on Google. Oh, you can't see it very well. Listen, I hope you heard that. I know that was quiet, right? But put it up to the mic as best I could. But literally, in the matter of seconds, you can ask Google anything, and it will tell you the answer to the best of its ability. And yes, of course, we got to do a research, and we got to find out all of those things and check it out. But generally speaking, you can find out about anything. For goodness sakes, get curious. So when I hang out with my kids, we're going down the street. I go, I wonder how that works. And they go, I wonder how that works. And I know I'm making some headway when I hear my children in the back seat as we're driving down the road going, I wonder how this works. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Get curious. People, get curious. How do things work? You know, one of the things I'm most curious about, how this and this work in combination with this. Yeah, that's it. Mind, body, soul. And how do those emotions work to get you the best quality life and be able to live at that next level? That's the stuff I'm curious about. And I love it. I love researching it, and I love asking Google about it, and I love learning more about it and hearing from the best educators out there on what little thing or how they figured out how to do it. And you know what? Some of you aren't into that, and that's cool, but that's okay. When you need to find out something, I'm here for you. Just let me know. If you have some random question or something, send it out to me, and we'll at least direct you towards something you need. If you haven't yet checked it out, check out my new book, everyminutebook.com. That's it, everyminutebook.com. If you've read it, comment in the comments below. If you've picked up a copy, hey, I tell you this all the time. I'll pay for, I believe in it so much. I'll pay for the book if you pay for the shipping. Go try it out. everyminutebook.com. Go check it out. And like we said, don't forget to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. Get curious. It's time. It's time to get curious about anything. And it's simple. Just start by going, okay, Google. We'll see you on the next podcast. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, lifers, don't forget to get your free copy of the Every Minute Book. You can find it at everyminutebook.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.